Director of Encoder UK, and we're here to host one of our papers from the ASEC from Rob Black. People that have been attending our ASECs for the last couple of years will probably be familiar with Rob Black. He's been very proactive the last couple of years on a number of different fronts. Rob works for Sellafield in the UK, and he's going to be talking to us today about AI, so artificial intelligence and systems engineering. Now, this is a subject that I'm particularly interested in because many, over 30 years ago, my original doctorate was in artificial intelligence, and that's how I got into systems engineering, rather bizarrely. So I'll be very interested to hear some of Rob's thoughts on this, and and hear other people's opinions and comments as well. And I must say as well, the number of times in the last year I've been asked about, well, what's the impact of things like ChatGPT going to be on systems engineering? So I think it's a very relevant topic that we've got here at the moment. In terms of the way that we'll be running the meeting, Rob, we're going to hand over to Rob in a moment. He's going to be talking for around 40 minutes. If people have any questions, can they just type them into the chat facility, please? And then I will put the questions to people at the end when Rob's finished talking. So any questions or comments that you want to do, please just put them into the group chat. And as I said, I'll be asking those at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rob. So Rob, it's great to see you again, and really looking forward to hear what you got to say.
Thank you. Just a quick, we've all been there and we've all done that. Can everybody see the slides? I'll assume yes. Great. Okay, thanks again for the opportunity, the privilege to address my community and a few interfacing communities. I respect there's different professions represented here today, but and again to Encoder UK for the opportunity to begin a conversation on this emergent technology. I think we are, generally speaking, as a profession, are extremely well placed to lead and manage on associated change, and hence really the investment of my own time, getting interested and trying to facilitate a bit of conversation around that too. Purpose listed, we'll touch on this more as we go, but to really summarize an exploration that I've been on about the capabilities and prospective uses of AI and how that can be used in planning and executing ISO 15288 or system lifecycle processes. And as I say, really just to stimulate conversation amongst ourselves about how we can process what is emerging and how we can harness that to our advantage. Okay, just a little brief. I am many things, as we all are, and I've been told to assure you that I am very human. You'll have to believe me because this is being delivered, this webinar, in a virtual environment, but I am entirely human, and some will attest to that. Others will still wonder whether I'm a bot, even when they meet me. But I'm many things: a dad several times over, a background in business information systems, so not following the conventional route. I think a lot of our system engineering community follow from a conventional engineering discipline and into integrative technical leadership role. As John's noted, predominantly working in UK nuclear decommissioning. I've got some roles representing the organisation I belong to, Sellafield Limited, to the UK Advisory Board. I chair the UK Northwest local group, so enjoy the support and the community and promoting systems engineering, learning and development across the region. A CSEP one day, maybe aspiring to an ESEP. If you've not inquired about that, there's other channels and references available, but you want to get your experience and knowledge ratified, Encoder UK can help you with that. Other affiliations with CMI, Chartered Manager and Fellow, so an interest in people, leading people, managing change. Other affiliations as noted. Sellafield was mentioned. We are out to remediate the site, safe storage en route. And there was a liability created from a national imperative, shall we say, and you can look in third-party references, Google for what Sellafield was about, but there is a legacy that needs to be safely managed, leading to plenty of system engineering opportunity and need. So that gives rise then to a whole scope of operational activities, also a portfolio program, project delivery. So inherent to that is bringing stakeholders and complexity together to achieve the UK business mission as it pertains to nuclear decommissioning. As John said, I've been involved with Incosi for a while and contributing where I can. At Sellafield and in UK nuclear decommissioning, I do have a particular interest in terms of connecting and developing people. So I'm leading CPD cohorts, trying to connect experience and take people through certification. So I've enjoyed that. But also looking at a lot of the organizational improvements around process development for functional specification, V&V, and so on. So I guess a bit of a blend, human, technologist, systems engineer. I like people, I like opportunity, and it's all kind of fused in this presentation. So the purpose and process today is to really summarize the exploration that I've been on and share that with you as it pertains to looking at how this technology can be harnessed in planning and executing life cycle processes, really to inform and enable myself, you, us together to lead and manage on the associated change. In terms of the steps we'll take, we'll just have a little poke on a prod and just reviewing what is our stake in this topic. It can be something out there unless we actually go and have a look at it. So let's review our stake in this theme. We'll touch on some of the key concepts and capabilities and just develop just an outline appreciation as to what is emerging. A provocation, if you're ready for that, there's a finger and a poke and a prod coming. So are we ready to lead on change? There's an exploration summary of that. So we'll have a look at some of the early life cycle applications. There's some use cases as derived from ISO 15288. And we'll have a look at some of those, the prompts and the products, and some overall reflections to follow. There's some suggestions as to what we should maybe think and do about all this, but again, the discussion will bring some more of that out. And lastly, obviously, we'll be having some questions and answers. Okay, so we have to begin somewhere. So I want to rope you in. We might ask, how is rope made? We have the fibers combined, they create yarns. Yarns combined create strands, and you can see a lovely illustration there of that happening in process. And the notion being that you can take these smaller elements, weave and fuse them together to make something that is significantly more durable, strong, can fulfill a greater performance requirement than it might have done on its own. And so rope then can be used in various ways, can't it? It can be used to restrain things, suspend things. You can even use it for, as we see here, creating climbing things for kids. So it's lots of different purposes. Where am I going with this? Well, systems engineering is really all about weaving capabilities, conditions, and constraints of humans and machines to deliver stakeholder value. So you see the connection between rope and between systems engineering. It wasn't quite as out there as perhaps you first thought, but we're joining teams together. We're creating concepts. We're joining technologies and solutions, and we're all about trying to help effectiveness, efficiency, quality, reliability, and safety across sectors. Even represented on this call today, there'll be all manner of industries and organizations and problem opportunities represented, and that's fun, isn't it? So systems engineering inherently works to augment and automate operations that would otherwise be performed by humans and/or which exceed their natural limits. We're taking things that we can't do, or we can't do very well, or very repeatably, or very safely, and we're bringing technology to bear. We're sort of weaving that into concepts and solutions that allow us to sit back and watch as machines do it for us, or help us in some fashion. And of course, we see that represented, the world's littered with systems that we've been involved in, from broad infrastructure and telecoms, sending rockets to the moon, healthcare, and there we go. There had to be a fist bump between us and technology. And that's essentially what systems engineering is doing, fusing capabilities and limitations of humans and technology. Yeah, but There's a quote there that's often cited in management and change theory. Kotter, some of you will have heard of Kotter, perhaps less, his counterpart there. But displaced actors tend to resist and rue change. Anybody who is asked to get up from their seat on the bus, or they're asked to move roles or projects, there can be that immediate reaction to, I'm not sure I want to do that. In some cases, it can be quite an intense reaction that follows that prompt of change. Identified here in that paper, and I guess, as John has said, there's full references available. Barriers to change are identified. We have this self-interest. No, I don't want to. It's not time for me to change. I've always done this. So there can be a self-interest, a self-preservation interest, a preference for what is and what not could be. We could have a different assessment of the situation. We don't see necessarily things the way that one another do, and so there can be an inherent, I might react differently to how you might react to the same stimuli. Low tolerance for change and inertia. Again, people are variously wired and motivated, but I just don't want to change. I won't change. You can't make me change. Whereas other people, they love the thrill of the ride, and life's a roller coaster, and they like it as such. So there's that spectrum of personality, I suppose, that we have to consider. There also can be misinformation and misunderstanding amongst even technical communities too, and we have to get behind some of that and understand what people are understanding and when it pertains to change. Now, we experience this, don't we, in our system engineering endeavors ourselves, and we as technical leaders predominantly, we're trying to facilitate and navigate through all of those barriers. There is a, you might contest that much used and abused, change curve. You might have heard that phrase used, often associated with organizational change and management consultancy, but actually it's, I think the original paper relates to integration of grief and coping with loss. So it's one of the many things I think has been appropriated variously, shall we say. But some of the key stages that when going through change or dealing with significant disruption, there's these stages that are identified of shock, anger, resentment, acceptance, and hope. And I suppose today, if we were to ask, where we are on that curve, so to speak, in relation to the emergent technologies, we might be shocked, we might be angered, resentful, accepting, or hopeful even. So people are in different places and they have different barriers to change. And this is just broadly just an opportunity for us to pause and to think, whereabouts are we in relation to this emergent capability? So obviously it's inherent that fear and wonder will escalate with the more substantive developments. The bigger the imposition or the change, then the more likely we are to be the height of our curve, if you like, our shock and anger and so on will be extended. But these concerns inherently they relate to our products and the processes we use to create them. Now, oftentimes as systems engineers and sort of leading technical integrators, we're concerned with the projection of concepts. And if we can only get the stakeholders to agree, and then we can only get this concept nailed, and we can get these requirements down, these designs stood up, and we can deliver this product, and they'll thank us in the long run. But actually, we're beginning to consider disruption through technology, which is affecting processes. So it's not just about the products, specialist or management products, it's about the processes that we use to create them. So ways of doing things differently, and that's significant to us now as we see the emergence of, I guess, broad scale sort of AI coming forward. So enter the bots. You'll see again references variously cited. Many definitions are available, but I propose the following as derived from this paper. AI is a contemporary disruptive force with applications increasing across sectors. I don't think we can dispute that. Accenture, there's an accessible definition for us. A constellation of different technologies working together to enable machines to sense, comprehend, act, and learn with human-like levels of intelligence. Again, this is not necessarily an academic definition, but something that I think is quite accessible and useful to us as we proceed. So again, as we see across sectors, agriculture, education, entertainment, healthcare, retail, and transport, so on, lots of different things. You know, we thank our stars, don't we, for the advances in medical screening and illness and disease detection. And we see other applications too emerging, you know, to do with crop monitoring and all that. So it's here. That's the point to make, really. This technology is here. It's a contemporary disruptive force, and we're all invested as creators and consumers. You know, there probably has been some imposition to your life through automation already, ones that you like and ones that you don't. But predominantly, again, as systems engineers, we are projecting that upon others. We've got to find a way to understand this technology and harness it to the advantage of ourselves in what we do and how we do it and what we deliver through that process. Are you talking to me? I could put an accent on there, but others are available. ChatGPT is an AI chatbot that uses natural language processing to create human-like dialogue. Again, human-like. We're not replacing humans quite yet. Again, some definitions to complement that, some terms. Again, this is just about us just building our appreciation of some of the terms. Machine learning, natural language processing, a chatbot. I think chatbot we'll just quickly dispense with. We've all kind of dealt with chatbots and support bots. I think we kind of pretty much know what that is. Machine learning is a branch of this constellation of AI technologies, computer science, which focuses on the use of data and algorithms to imitate human-like. You see these terms emerging. The way that humans learn, gradually improving its accuracy again. So it's progressing in its you know, awareness and competency and capability as it does more. Natural language processing. Natural language is just us in a sort of a non syntactic way of talking with one another. We render that in text variously, but machine learning technology gives computers the ability to interpret all that body of knowledge wherever it lives and begin to manipulate and facilitate use cases and interactions with that data. OpenAI is at the helm of that. You know, again, ChatGPT is something that is just every day there's a new headline and so on. But OpenAI has this aim of bringing AI benefits to all of humanity, and that'll either sort of excite you or it will put the heebie-jeebies in you or something in between. But it's aspirational, to say the least. The flagship product is, of course, ChatGPT, and it really works in the way that's illustrated on screen. Is, you know, you can type stuff in and you get human-like responses out. And behind the scenes, I want to kind of just almost adopt a bit of a black box approach today and not dwell too much, because I don't work for OpenAI, nor do I have the extended data science knowledge, although I do have a background in information systems. It's not for me to really say, you know, to open up the lid and to show you the innards, because I couldn't do that. I'm not here to sell a particular AI technology or bot to you today. Okay, so show me. There we go. We have an enthusiastic, let's say he is a systems engineer, and he can either use his laptop, his phone. Even they've added capability for interacting through voice, so you can have a sort of a flowing conversation, slightly stuttering, but as I just did actually there, not intentionally, but it's almost like the correspondence that you might see between a news reporter in the field and then back at base. Okay, we go live to, but there's certainly the ability to converse sort of orally now with ChatGPT. So there we go. I typed that into ChatGPT, and again available as an app through your favorite app stores. Tell me in very simple terms, format your answer as a short bulleted list. And this is pretty much, again, simulation, but this is pretty much how it works. Presented pretty much like that. You type in a prompt and you get something back. And again, I don't want to dwell too much upon the description given there, but you can type the same into ChatGPT and you might get something similar, slightly different. I guess the point to make here is the model is analyzing the input you provide. It's got a back end of data that it's kind of crawled and interacted with, derived a meta model and a vector database, and you come in with your particular novel prompt, and it synthesizes that information like we might, I say like, and I use sort of quotes, might use different processes, but it comes back with a synthesized response to the prompts that we provide. And as articulated, the more through machine learning, the more data it sees, the more it's used, the more humans reaffirm its positive or negative responses, the better, or perhaps the worse even, it becomes at generating accurate and natural sounding replies. I say worse because there is a manifest risk of data poisoning and things like that, where surreptitious or malevolent actors come in and start typing and spoiling services. But let's proceed. So what? The leading quote was, "All your use cases belong to us." It falls from a bad translation of probably a bad game many years ago. But there's the bad guy. All your bases belong to us. And so are we really at that point where the system engineer is about to be replaced? And I could pause here, much like X Factor or other talent shows, and make you feel awkward. Am I about to be undone by the bots? But I'll click next and we'll have a look. So there are some people actually that do live under a rock, and some of you will have traveled far and wide and you'll been to places like this. But unless you have been living under a rock, as it said, the explosion of AI technology across sectors, integrated into products, forming the base of third-party plugins and things like that. It's just multiplied from text-based stuff like what we're going to look at today, to video, to audio. It's been massive, hasn't it? And continues to present. So there's been already, I'd say, a broad disruption of conventional manual operations and knowledge worker roles across sectors. If we look back 10 years, 20 years, computers are doing more and more for us. And even in the space of, whereas we might have had the Industrial Revolution and, people that were dealing with hard assets and engineering and interacting with heavy stuff, we've fixed them, we've made them safer and automate what they do. But increasingly we're seeing technology make an impression into the space of knowledge workers, as it's been termed. So these are people, roles who apply, just drag this out of the way, people or roles who apply theoretical and analytical knowledge acquired through formal training to develop products and services. There we are, Peter Drucker. Again, references available in the paper. So commentary and speculation abounds, and you'll see that in the headlines, as we said. So drawing all things together, systems engineers are socio-technical integrators. We have to bring people and technology together to weave what it can and can't do to create value for us and for others. Now, we might quickly conceive how these manual and mechanical tasks can be automated, and here comes the kind of the poke and the prod. But perhaps we're less informed or maybe even inclined to consider direct role impacts. Like, what does it mean to me as somebody working in portfolio or business mission delivery or project delivery, requirements engineering? What does it mean to me? What are the prospective applications? So the purpose is to appraise and share, not alarm and scare. And if that's you right now, again, apologies, we'll move swiftly on. So where we began is, again, there's a quote there, research is formalized curiosity. And that's where pretty much I've always been through my life. I think we're naturally inquisitive. We like to put our eyes and ears and fingers sometimes places that they shouldn't be as children. And we have to be, we almost have that drilled out of us. But those of us who survive to adulthood, we continue that and we call it research, poking and prying with a purpose. So I have to say, ignorant. I didn't really know much about AI, and there's still a vast amount I don't know, but I was definitely ignorant as it relates to all the things that I was hearing in the headlines. And so, just drag this again out of the way. The first step is to combat that, is to make yourself aware. So that's what I began to do, started to have a look, playing with the tool, understanding its capabilities, started to do a little bit of just informal playing with, fictitious case studies and so on, and became more invested, started blogging and writing about that, getting some stimulation on LinkedIn and things and feedback, and shared some of that with my boss, Chief Systems Delivery Engineer at Sellafield, and was invited to write a study, complete an extended study on prospective use cases and how this technology could potentially be harnessed, and that as part of a broader Sellafield Limited AI strategy. So from ignorance to being engaged. So how we proceeded. We assumed a fictitious brief to develop a concept autonomous grocery delivery service. You know, other briefs are available. You might want to have a, just imagine something and roll with it and see what you can do. Again, the rationale behind that as well was to our industry and domain. And again, just a word of caution, anything you really type into ChatGPT is subject to use and reuse. So, we don't necessarily want to be taking more sensitive aspects of, either our commercial or safety aspects of our jobs and pasting that into a chatbot. So again, a fictitious brief was used for that purpose. Some of you will recognize some of these graphics. This is the ISO 15288 Lifecycle Process Bank and the version 4 handbook. A newer edition is available now, but the processes continue over. But really, starting at looking at activities that a system engineer might complete in course of addressing this brief. So what are the use cases really that derive from this brief? What's the systems engineer to do in response to that fictitious brief? Use cases derived to inform review. So what use might we make of AI and ChatGPT specifically in relation to doing and planning and doing these system engineering stuffs? And again, there's a definition of what a use case is there. Again, I don't propose to teach you everything today. And then it was a case of reporting the results and reflections to our Chief Systems Delivery Engineer, colleagues in Project System Engineering Management Capability and the extended community of practice. And then again, just initiating wider lifecycle stakeholder engagement within Sellafield and the NDA and so on. And here we are talking today. So that's the purpose. That's where and how we proceeded. Seeing the big picture, again, you can zoom and squint accordingly. But essentially, there was a logical progression of use cases, prompts and products, starting with a ConOps right the way through to looking at primary system functions and so on. So there's some sense of logical progression and derivation and reuse of AI outputs in subsequent prompts and products accordingly. Alternatively rendered, there's a table here, and again I propose to just illustrate a couple of these only today, but just to show the breadth of things. So we've got drafting an enterprise level ConOps, so maybe an organization's statement of strategic intent in relation to a system or business mission, drafting problem opportunity statements, deriving business needs as preliminary lifecycle stakeholders, drafting candidate stakeholders, interest, elicitation prompts, and we progress, developing a product breakdown structure, business requirement spec, measures of effectiveness, taking a spec and saying, well, what do you think would be measures that we should be really tracking and trending in relation to that spec? Even traceability matrices for candidate requirement and measure links. Lots of stuff in there. User personas to inform development, developing workshop agendas. So quite a breadth of use cases really. On the right here, there's just a notional correspondence to generic lifecycle stages from concept, development, production to utilization, support and retirement. But again, we'll see in anger that really AI has its application across the full life cycle from cradle to grave. So again, I propose to just select a few of these if we want to revisit, if we've got time later on. Perhaps I can show you some more. Content will be available through Incozy, if not. So there we go. We have use case 1, drafting an enterprise level ConOps. So can we get the bot, can we get AI or ChatGPT to draft outline assumptions and intent relating to the operations of a fictitious company? And can we establish a reference product for use in subsequent demonstrations? So this is me. I can't type this fast. I can't even talk this fast, but there we go. Generate a ConOps, an enterprise level ConOps, a statement of strategic intent for this company, this startup company, QuickCart we'll call it, entering the grocery sector, and there's a statement of the aspirations, you know, where they're based, just a little bit of something to work off. I did have to qualify it here and say the ConApp should provide a broad outline of the company's assumptions or intent in regards to its operations. So there we go, a little bit of a prompt, and we get some text back. Introduction, scope of operations, infrastructure requirements, assumptions and intents. And again, you might argue, well, it's text and it's just made more text, but it's made it very quickly, and it's at very least it's given us a start of a 10 for something we can potentially work with and able to summarize what we're intending to do. Now, you would never launch, in reality, you would never launch, I know that, you would never launch something so substantive and commercially risky and technology risky on the basis of a ChatGPT output, but certainly as a representing an illustrative use, it's can oil the wheels, shall we say. So again, with each of these use cases, there's a bit of a summary. So we put in some summary contextual information. We put in an inline ConOps definition from the handbook, and we put in prompts to quantify scope of operations, and we got 6 paragraphs out that succinctly frame what we intended. So I think that was a good one. We go on, stakeholders, interests, and elicitation prompts. So there's some intermediary use cases. I had it to identify some preliminary life cycle concepts for the quick cart service and enabling systems and so on. I asked it then to use these preliminary life cycle concepts to identify major stakeholders, present this as a stakeholder listing, so on, tabulated, alphabetically sorted, and this is what I got. Now again, you might be able to brainstorm quite quickly, but maybe not quite as quickly as this. At least again, start for 10, you've got some people that you could potentially talk to and establish what their key interests might be. Also then with some neat elicitation prompts, what sort of things might I want to ask them? And again, this is illustrative. I'm not immediately here to sell you ChatGPT or say, right, we need to just suddenly displace all of our requirements engineers. But certainly as oiling the wheels, it's like having a helpful apprentice at your side. So there we go. We've got a list of stakeholders and we got references, interest, needs, elicitation prompts from preliminary lifecycle concepts. I should say that preliminary lifecycle concepts, that was something that was developed from a previous use case. So again, we see the generative sort of cascade of use case prompts to products to use case prompts and products and so on. Drafting a product breakdown structure. So this is the notion of developing some sort of candidate systemization or planned products as substantive things that the project is going to deliver for a candidate solution based upon the preliminary lifecycle concept. So take this notion of how we think it's going to work from concept through to retirement and project a sort of a system breakdown or product breakdown, and we'll use that in subsequent use cases. So I've told it what to do. I want you to use the preliminary lifecycle concepts, draft a PBS, and present the information as follows. And so it's come back and told me essentially some candidate products or system components that would want to be part of a potential solution. And again, we wouldn't race and suddenly go, I'll go on eBay and order an inventory management system. We're not that daft. But in terms of just scoping out and a sort of you could imagine in a generative workshop or even offline, just sort of blasting and consulting with a bot of sorts, you know, there might be some utility in that. So again, just a summary description of what that product might be. Okay. So that's, I think, a good solid contribution again. Drafting a business requirement specification. We get into slightly more sticky water now, but we'll see how we go. Demonstrating the automated draft of business requirements based upon pre-existing ConOps, so that high-level enterprise strategic intent, the preliminary lifecycle concepts for the system, the quick cart service, and the PBS. So bring all that together, mash it up, please, and give me a draft business requirements spec. So again, a prompt that really follows the pattern. You can pause and rewind in future via YouTube recording. But having read that, all that information in, what do we get out? So there's some business requirements. So we've got some identifiers, some requirements, some rationale. You can have a look at that, make some assessment in course. It was quite quick anyway. But there we go, the drafted enterprise. This is my summation, I think, of that use case. The drafted enterprise ConOps and all that were automatically translated to a business requirement specification representing high-level capabilities and intent of the new automated grocery delivery service. And we've got the extended attributes. Now, in red, this is the first time I think we've had red text, but requirement specialists may contest the abstraction, the level of specification that we've achieved here, and also the syntactic rendering. So again, concession there to those who are requirement specialists, and particularly those who are well acquainted with the INCOSE Guide to Requirements Writing. Maybe just a couple more, and then we'll skip on. So what I asked it to do then is to take a pre-existing BRS and project out candidate measures of effectiveness. If we're about to sort of sanction this specification, how would we know that it's achieving sort of business mission success? What would we want to sort of track and trend? So that's the essence of the prompt. Give us some information needs with respect to effectiveness of the service. These measures of effectiveness should be represented as follows. Again, importantly, used in the business requirement spec. So there we go, we've got some, and they seem quite intuitive and sensible. And again, we might be able to quickly blast those out ourselves, but again, not as quickly as ChatGPT. Delivery accuracy, customer satisfaction, on-time delivery, and so on. Inventory accuracy, and description to boot as well. So again, I think that's a solid offering a capability that we might want to consider. Maybe lastly, what I asked it to do then is to just draft a traceability matrix, so we could see a list of the business requirements and then the candidate measures intersecting. I couldn't just tell it. Unfortunately, the experience tells me now that there has to be an iteration of the prompt. You have to grow in your capability in harnessing the capability of ChatGPT and other AI technologies. So I couldn't just say generate a traceability matrix. I had to quite mechanistically tell it what to do, but that was the end. And this is what we achieved. So there's the requirements, there's the measures, and that would give, you can imagine somebody up the tree wanting a dashboard on, well, what we're tracking and trending, how we're performing, and how will we know if we have achieved effectiveness in regard to business requirement 5, 6, 7 or whatever. Again, so nominal prompts are required for formatting. I've teased myself into this because I've clicked next, so there we go. There are some, I wanted to test it a little bit. You can have a look at an article I wrote on this that's more full on LinkedIn. But again, there are high levels of syntax expectation for different types of, depending on where you are in the strata of enterprise need, right down to low-level component, how you might write and form requirements. And one such approach is EARS, easy approach to requirement syntax, and there is a definition of that which is available online. But I wanted to just test it. Can we develop sort of highly syntactic requirements based around a established sort of convention? And the answer is yes, but not perfectly. So I wanted to generate requirements, then verify these requirements according to the rule set, and then repeat for a range of non-compliant requirements. Again, respecting that others have touched this territory perhaps more fully. There we go, we get some requirements out. There's different requirement types, and there's a rationale. And my reflection is that significant iteration was required to achieve the results. And again, syntactic issues, I think, were quite evident. But the point being is that it can do it. It will get better at doing it, and maybe even quicker than an apprentice sitting at our side. So again, it's a slight provocation there, but computers certainly are well placed to deal with highly syntactic information. It's just a case, I think, that ChatGPT doesn't really know enough about that syntax yet. Okay, so I'm going to skip to past the use cases, and if you want to probe on another occasion or come back, ask. I'm quite happy to show you some of that. But my reflections, I think that of others, was, wow, I can't unsee this. Again, the passage of time, we might have become slightly desensitized to the disruption and maybe just gone back to sleep. Maybe we've integrated that already. Maybe some of us are even abounding in our uses, and it'd be interesting to hear what some of you are doing. But you know, there's the assessment at least. I can't unsee this. It's definitely, as far as I'd consider, a present and powerful aid to productivity, demonstrated across 17 use cases, some which are, you know, we might term them from a human standpoint as more creative, you know, develop me a concept for this or whatever. Others more prescriptive, you know, generate a table or follow this syntax. Rapid outputs from a few short prompts. There wasn't War and Peace written in any instance for any of those use cases. I'm going to posit that AI prompters will be king, but only those who really know what they're doing anyway and why they're doing it and where they're doing it. So process and domain knowledge will still be king. We're going to have to know what the healthcare sector is, or nuclear decommissioning is, or what it even means to frame and deliver a product within a particular industry. But if you're one step ahead and you know how to oil the wheels through use of AI, I think you are certainly in a very commanding position. Yes, we need to know how to interpret and use AI outputs. The fact that I can generate a bunch of screen and animate it in PowerPoint is less impressive than the application of that. You know, if it goes on to help form, shape a concept or a solution for something that achieves a business mission and delivers stakeholder value, then that's what it's all about. We still need to know how to use these in situ and the value of so doing. Again, I've probably made comment about this already, but limitations and improvements may be expected. There are constraints on the data set. I think I might have said, you know, previously, you know, when the web was sort of getting going and all that, you know, I think some of us may be familiar with the term of crawling the internet. We do have a sense that search engines go away and crawl data. Well, AI has its constraint there with what data set it's working with, and that'll update. Yes, it does struggle with more nuanced and exacting requests, but if we persist, we'll get better results. Also, you'll notice advanced naming. So I was saying, generate me this and call it that, and then I would use that convention to sort of cascade the product through use cases. Human creativity is obviously there. We need to just consider how we'll use it, where we'll use it, and get going, really. Okay, some conclusions, and then we'll open up. But some wise people a long time ago, Greek philosophers, Heraclitus, mythical in life and death, but has said nothing endures but change. I think there's a Stereophonic song to that effect as well. But there we go. We're invested in a complex shifting environment. We just, whether we are a user, a consumer, or a creator, we're in it. But I would say technology innovation and industry disruption is nothing new. I've alluded to Google News and Napster and the likes. Some of us are old enough to remember the protests of content creators and the adaptation of industry and incentivization and you know, schemes of remuneration for content creators and so on. So whilst this might not be it now, it is here, and it will shift and change and adapt accordingly. As we are weaving the power and potential of machines to help human performance, so AI is really there to be harnessed for our advantage. We do have a Barclay Brown, who a respected figure within in Cozy Global, also author of a book on this same theme, AI and the fusion with systems engineering. You know, he asserts quite forcefully that we have the concepts, we have the methods, we have the tool to address these diverse, complex and dangerous technologies. We've been doing that over decades. and we're well placed to lead and manage the emergent changes too. So if we get ourselves a little bit switched on, a little bit more clued up, then perhaps we can really lead and prevail through these contemporary changes, honing the applications, facilitating deployment and moderating use and outputs. We're going to expect things to change and grow and adapt rapidly. And we need to engage specialists. It goes without saying, and I think I've already qualified myself enough to say I don't know everything. I never will. And thank God that we don't operate in that way. As systems engineers, we bring together stakeholders, we bring together specialists, and at this point in life and history, we need to engage data specialists, people who are infosec specialists, people who have legal and ethical insights, people who can help us inform the concepts around how we use it, not just in our products, but in our processes too. And then think about what we do in our organizations, how we establish strategies and plan for that adaptation and disruption of what we're doing. And so I'd say let's explore quickly and cautiously. Let's proceed. To close out, AI is a theme at Sellafield. I don't want to dwell upon this because it's obviously it's there in public domain. You can access the Sellafield AI strategy. There's various pillars represented, but there's a vision, and we're in process already of deploying AI technologies and a constellation of technologies across the various life cycle operations. My part is to just feed in, I suppose, what project system engineering managers might want to do. And also consider how that figures into the broader strategy at Sellafield. So it's really about awareness and excitement, and just building that awareness at this time. And that really concludes a bit of a rapid step through. Hopefully my time's okay, but a prudent question is one half of wisdom. As I say, there's a working group, there's some products out there, lots of other things to consider. You can forget this ever happened, this webinar, and go away, but I think it would be folly. And that pretty much concludes all I have to say. I'm happy to answer any questions, but thank you again for the opportunity, for the platform. Hopefully that's appraised us, if not prompted us to think we need to be, as systems engineers, we need to be fusing this opportunity and this technology and this time to our process and our products. Thank you all.
Okay, well, Rob, that was outstanding. That was really, really good. And it's certainly, I think it's going to give everybody a lot of food for thought on this. We've got a couple of questions coming in at the moment. So the first one, which I think is a question that many people have, and it's from Kirsten. It says, given the rise in universities placing rules in place about using AI-capable softwares to create work, I would put in brackets there to cheat, would you expect to see similar rules and regulations rising in the workplace in the next few years? So yeah, so people using this for, to either cheat, steal other people's work, rather than just saving time. What are your thoughts on that, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, usually rules arrived after the experimentation. The horse, the proverbial horse, has bolted already, and so organizations certainly and individuals need to consider what their risk exposure is, their IP, what has been scraped and harvested that they didn't know about, and then the derivative products as it pertains to, what if you employ somebody for their insight and their ability to synthesize information, to do knowledge work in and help the business mission, is it okay for them to sort of outsource that to a bot? And you obviously go beyond the confines of the established IT infrastructure, perhaps inadvertently passing, or maybe expressly knowing, passing information into third-party hands. So as I say, if I zoom out a little bit, there's a constellation of technologies, and we need to be appraised of what they can do and the constraints and the risks that are attached to that. We need to understand our own use cases, and yes, rules can follow, but we kind of need to we're in the space, I think, where the horse is well and truly out, bolting and galloping, and we have to think about what we're going to do quite quickly, hence the provocation here. But again, I work as a volunteer, for example, reviewing CSEP applications. Is it okay for somebody to pass their CV into ChatGPT to re-render it according to the competency areas for CSEP? Is it okay for a CSET reviewer to paste it into chat GPT and then have it automatically assess it and provide candidate feedback? I think the answer is no in both cases. But again, we will need to tighten up our expectations and provisions, and inevitably legal stuff is already happening. So
yeah, I mean, and the whole sort of ethical issue as well around it is immense, isn't it? So
yeah, massive.
we got a question from someone who's rather disturbingly called Connor. I hope it's not John or Sarah, but there we go. Great presentation. I think you pretty much answered this. How have you started implementing this at Sellafield? And there was a slide at the end with some pointers towards how you are using that at Sellafield. I think one of the messages that comes out of this, and if anybody was at the ASEC this year, one of our keynote speakers put up, it was Steve Records from Encoded Central, and he told a story about, I think it was a fortune cookie, but the expression that stuck with me, and I've used many times since, is everybody wants progress but nobody wants change. And I think this, a lot of the things that you were saying here, Rob, were sort of ringing true of that, with, you know, particularly some of the earlier slides saying, well, you know, and part of your conclusion, change is inevitable, but people are naturally scared of change as well. So, you know, how do you see sort of assuaging people's fears and doubts about these new technologies?
Yeah, I think we come back and we do what we do as systems engineers. I think we promote multi-stakeholder and multi-specialist investment in a process of understanding and quantifying people's interests, value, frameworks, and we consider at the same time, parallel to that, we look at characterizing of solution space, don't we? We understand what technology can do to us, and we draw specialists in, and we have a participative process that leads to things that people can comprehend and buy into. I think this isn't something where you sort of go away and, you know, head down and other aspects of your body up, and sort of come back and say, ta-da, you know, this is the way systems engineering is done now. I think it has to be a discussion, hence today, a discussion amongst professionals, a discussion within industries, organizations, but definitely participative.
So, sorry, John, circling back to my question, because I wanted to actually chat to Rob about it. So, Rob, how are you actually implementing this at Sellafield, and you know, what's the lessons learned on the ground, right? Are you saying, okay, this team's going to use AI to generate the requirement spec and then they're reviewing quality, or, you know, do you have any of that first-hand sort of lessons that are coming out of this?
No, not yet. You know, there is as I say, constellation of technologies you'd expect any organization to be looking at, and that continues through ordered programs of studies and so on. But as it pertains to systems engineering, we're nowhere near yet conceiving and deploying such technology. You know, there's inherent risks attached to use of such technologies, and there's different vendors, different deployment models available. My thing is to wake up our community to contribute to, as a representative knowledge worker, feed into the corporate strategy, illustrate what we're considering, spark interest, and see if we can't progress and help that corporate strategy going forward. But we're a long way off considering routine deployment.
Okay,
so
well,
what's
Rob,
the steps to... Sorry, Rob, I can go on all day discussing this.
We're going to have to move you on quickly, Connor, because we're actually running out of time now. So,
all right, I'll wrap up. No, it's just, you know, what's the next steps? How can we as a community actually start to move this forward collectively? You know, with pilot projects, what's some of those safe steps to get this ball rolling?
Yeah, naturally, I'm going to defer to established working groups. So in COSI, have working groups on these themes, and certainly, you know, I think we keep our ears up, senses up to what they're doing. We have to look within and across our industry. You know, we're leaders of endeavours ourselves, and understand what's happening within our industry, exploit some of the fora like UCAB and others to talk about what we're doing, and just really begin to make a personal and organizational investment. And if we don't do it, I'm not sure who will. We are the leading integrators, aren't we? So a call to arms, really.
Okay, well, Rob, that was excellent. We're gonna have to close it down now as we run out of time. That was a really good presentation, very thought provoking. And I'm sure many people have got questions as well. I'm sure Rob would be happy for people to email him afterwards. The original paper is available from the Incozy UK website. This presentation will be available from the Incozy website, hopefully by the end of the week, if not next week, along with a download of this video as well. You know, thank you everybody for turning out. Rob, again, thanks very much. It's been a really interesting presentation, and we'll close it down now. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you all. Thanks, John.